Hello and welcome to the Dreamweaver Final Project support video. The intention of this video is to kind of help you get started and work your way through the various steps and features of the Dreamweaver Final Project. So what we're looking at here is a mostly completed sample of what the final project could look like. It's a small business website that we're trying to create. A home page, a company news page, a products page, a locations page, and a contact us page for your chosen business. Mine here is shoes, and we can take a look at some of the features on each of these pages, and then we'll get back to how you get started. So this is the home page. We're looking at a 3-column layout, and we have some basic content in the middle. On the home page, it makes sense to show some of your products and possibly your store if you have one. If there's a storefront behind it, supposedly. Either advertising or supportive text will normally go in these two sidebar areas. Let's take a look at the other pages. Here's the company news page. In my case, we're putting up some posters in the storefronts, and here's an example of what one looks like. So we're kind of showing that off, taking up some space, and some supportive information on the sides. The products page is an important one because you're going to be showing at least 10 of your products, whatever they are. In my case, that's 10 retro shoes. And as we display them, they will be in a table. So in my case, I've got 10 rows worth of shoes there, as well as some description and pricing information. And again, some related information in the sidebars. Locations page lists some imaginary store locations and even more imaginary future locations. Again, some supportive information in the sidebars. And lastly, a contact us page, which admittedly appears to be not yet complete. But you get the idea of what the site kind of should look like or could look like. It's pretty wide open in terms of your products and your design. It's also open as to where you get your images. You're free to basically copy images from the internet and do some image searches for stuff that's related to your products and borrow them, quote unquote, for the sake of this educational project. So now that you've had a chance to see what a finished or almost finished version of this final project might look like, let's get back to how you get started. And for that, we'll go to Blackboard, and we'll notice the final project in the assignments page. And we have a couple of downloads. One is the starter set of files. It's a zip file. The other is the Word file containing the instructions, which are step-by-step and very good for you to use as a guide as you work through the various requirements of the project. So I've taken the liberty of downloading those already, and so I've got them on my desktop, and next step is going to be to take a look at that download. So I have here the downloaded starting point. It's in a folder called Your Name Final Project Start. And so the first thing you would want to do with that would be to put your name in there and maybe get rid of the word start. So whatever your name is, put that on there. And then I'm going to wipe out the word start because once you get started, it's no longer the starting point and will be submitted as your final project. Then once this has been renamed, we'll take a look inside. And we'll see that there's a lot of subfolders and files within those that you're given as a starting point. So I've already created a template for you. There are some basic folders for you. It's a Bootstrap-based site. So Bootstrap, as you know, creates some additional subfolders, JS, and so on. And I also have a CSS folder with an images folder that we'll be using to contain style sheets and images respectively. So let's go into Dreamweaver and take a look at what we're given as a starting point, and then we'll walk through some of the initial steps so that we can see how to really get started on this. Step one, as always, will be to define our site. So we create a new site here, call it DW Final Project, and orient it towards that unzipped folder containing our starter files that we were just looking at. And here it is, Joe Student Final Project. And select that folder. And notice that we don't really have a bunch of pages that we can open up immediately, but we do have a template that we're going to focus our attention on early on here, and that's finalproject.dwt in the templates folder. So let's open that up. And here you see in live view the 3-column layout that we were seeing in the browser previously on the semi-finished shoes project that we were looking at. So this is our starting point, and everybody shares this starting point from the files you download from Blackboard, and it's from here that we begin to build some of the common content to all pages, and then we'll create the pages from this template. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages will be built from this template. Now, if you recall in how you create templates, we have to create editable and non-editable regions. The editable regions would be the ones where there's going to be some difference from page to page. So for example, all the content areas, like the main and sidebar areas, are going to be different on each page, potentially at least, whereas areas that will be the same on each page would be the navigation area, possibly the banner area, the copyright area. Once it's put in place, it'll be good for all pages and should be some consistency between them. So we have some work to do on this template before we create those pages. So that's kind of our starting point. Okay, so let's follow the steps of the instructions initially here. I've already downloaded them from Blackboard into Word, and here they are in step-by-step format. And I'll go ahead and increase the zoom level here. And you can see here's a picture of pretty much what we were looking at in Dreamweaver in live view a few moments ago, our starting point, and the steps here begin by having you pick a company product type that you're going to have for your business and give your business a name, and then in turn fill out that name in the logo banner area. Later you'll actually create a graphical logo for it, but for now we'll just come up with a name and type it in there. And then as we move on, a footer area and eventually a navigation bar. Then we'll use the template to create those pages. So let's go through that process. Alright, so to actually start changing elements on the template, we're going to have to go to Design View. Live View doesn't work very good in trying to work with a template. So for example, simply switching to Design View is suddenly breaking out the editable regions that I've already created for you in these 3 columns. When I say 3 columns, you may be wondering where the third one went. Just due to the spacing and the way Design View is working with our CSS layout, it's putting the right sidebar column down below, and that's fine, we'll work with it there, but when we preview it in the browser, you'll see all 3 columns are there. So we'll just do our work for right-hand column down below there while we're in Design View. It's just kind of a quirk of the layout in Design View here. So as you can see, Design View is where you want to do your work. Once you have a company's products and name in mind, you'll go to that logo banner area and you just type that in. So in my case, for example, Scott's Shoes, in your case, whatever. And then we can start to work with other areas on the page. Now, we don't really want to get in here and start messing with these editable regions. Remember, those are regions that will be different on each page, so it doesn't make sense for me to set something here for all pages to take on unless there's some initial content that I might want to put in there. But in our case, we're going to focus here on those areas that are going to be the same for every page. The first one of those was the header area, and the last of those is going to be this footer area down at the bottom, the copyright. So I'll go ahead and enter in some appropriate copyright information. So I'll say copyright Scott's Shoes 2017, comma, all rights reserved. And I'm also going to put web page design by Joe Student, and that's where you would put your own name. That way it appears on the page there. Alright, so now I've got some customization that's going to be there on all pages. We're going to do some work with the navigation bar later, because if you click on any one of those pages, you'll see that there's not really a linked page that it's going to, and we're going to have to set that up, but we don't have the pages that it's going to be linking to yet until we save this template and start creating these pages from it. So that's really the next step. Then we can always come back in and change anything we want to in these non-editable regions, and it will update the pages that are attached to the template. So I'm going to go ahead and save the changes that I've made so far, even though they haven't been too extensive. So now it's time to create our 5 pages. So to create a page from a template, you don't really have to have the template open. To demonstrate that, I'll go ahead and close that now it's been saved. You just go File and New. Then you would go to Site Templates and notice that it's the only template that I have set up. You might have others, but find the one that you just created. It should be called Final Project, and it should look like whatever you just got done creating. And then we want to make sure that update page when template changes is checked, and then we want to click the create button. We're going to create that page. This is going to be our home page. So what we're going to do here is go into the page heading. You still should be in design view, and we're just going to type the word home so that we're identifying these pages. And I'm going to go ahead and save. Your instructions tell you exactly what to call each of these files that you're creating. These are going to go into the main area, not in your templates area. And the first one's going to be called index.html, and we'll save that out, and we should be able to see that in your files panel area. And you can leave it open for the moment. We'll do file new. We're just going to do this 5 times, once for each one of those pages. Once you've done site templates, it's going to default out to that and your checkbox, so you're just going to quickly jump to that and create. I'm going to change this to company news as I work left to right across the navigation bar that doesn't work at the moment. And we're going to save that page as news.html. And we have our second page created. Next is the products page. Page heading products. Save that out as products.html. And go for the next one, locations. And lastly, we create the contact page. And save it as contact.html. You don't really have to type the .html, it'll default out to that for you. You can see all of my pages now appearing here in the Files panel main folder. You want to also notice that we have a style sheet there in our main folder, not in the CSS folder, because the CSS folder is really where the Bootstrap style sheets are, and we want to keep ours separate from it for our own purposes. And we'll get into the styles that need to go in there later. Alright, so we've basically finished step 3 of the process as we're working our way through the instruction sheet. The next step is to make our navigation bar work. You might be wondering, doesn't it work already? Let's take the home page that we just created, and let's take that into the browser, and we can demonstrate the issues that we might have with it. Here's my home page, and here's the navigation bar. If I click on company news, it doesn't go anywhere. None of these links really are working at all. They just basically stay where they are. So we need to go into the template file now. You can't really change that. Notice that when you're on any of these pages we just created, you can't get access to making these kinds of changes to the nav bar. Why? Because it's not an editable region. It's one of the locked areas of the template. So if you want to change something in one of those areas, that's fine, but you have to then go back to your template to do it. So now on the template page, finalproject.dwt, I can get full access into these areas. So I'm just going to click on a link, and I'm going to update in my properties panel the actual link. I'm still working in design view here. And to change that link, currently it's a hashtag just to keep it on that page, but make it a link. I have several options for how I can fix that link and make it the page reference that I need it to be. One is just to type it in, but you got to be careful about that. Don't make any typos. The next is a point to file tool, and the next is a browsing tool to navigate to the file. So any of those can be used fine. It doesn't really matter as long as you're sure you're getting it right. So I'll demonstrate them. First of all, index.html would be one way to do it. Hit enter to lock that in. For the company news link, I'll demonstrate the point to file tool. This is going to go to the news.html page. And next, the products. For the products one, I'll go ahead and demonstrate the browse tool. Now, since you have your site defined properly, it should open up the site's main folder and make it easy to find the page we're looking for. In this case, we're looking for the products page. There it is. Double click it or click it on it and click OK. It'll set that up for you. So whichever one of those 3 methods you prefer, and I would probably discourage the typing method just because it's easier to make mistakes. So I'll go with the browse for locations, and then lastly browse for contact us. I now have all 5 links fixed, and I'm going to save my template. And when you save a template, it's going to update or attempt to update all the pages that are connected to that template, regardless of whether they're open or not. They happen to be open here now for me, but they don't need to be. This is a log of the pages that were updated. You can click on that checkbox and it'll show you the log. And it's a good idea to do this because it kind of gives you feedback that it examined 5 files, it updated all 5, there weren't any files that it had problems updating. So that tells you that it was able to do all the updates. There are only 5 pages in our site, so that's good news. Now, the best confirmation here is to test it in the browser. So let's do a file save all, because all my pages were changed. And I don't want to get my template in the browser. I want to get one of my main pages. So I'm going to click on the home page and then take it into the browser. And I'm going to confirm that the navigation bar now works. So I'm on the home page. I'll go to company news. There it is. You can see now why I bothered to change those H1 page headings, because without it I'd have no way of knowing what page I'm on. There's products, there's locations, there's contact, back to home, and I didn't really check each link on each page, but I think I'm feeling pretty comfortable about things having been fixed. So we have now completed our navigation bar changes, and we're on to step 5. Step 5 is about creating a logo, and that's to replace the text that's in our top banner area. And there's a handout link in the directions for you to follow. If you don't have some ability to just make a logo in Photoshop, then you can use one of those web tools to create your own logo. It doesn't have to be a great looking graphical logo. I'm not going to give you or deduct points for a logo that doesn't look awesome. I'm not here to judge your graphic skills, but we do need to have something in there, an image. That image needs to have your company's name on it, and the company's name has to include your name. So that's what we're looking for. You saw an example of it in the initial site we were looking at for Scott's shoes. So once you do get that logo created, you would then want to go back to your template page, finalproject.dwt, and you'll replace the text with that image. You'll just insert delete the text and go to the insert image and load your logo into either the images folder or the main area, either one, and then load it into that banner area on your template, and then again save that template so it gets out to your 5 pages, as we just saw how that template updating process works. Alright, so that's how you get your logo in there. I'm going to skip down now to the CSS requirements. This is an area that could cause some confusion if you're not clear on how to get to that style sheet and to begin to put your styles in there. So we have some requirements. The first one is to create some default page styles by using the body selector. All these styles that you're going to be adding to your page here, which is currently obviously lacking in style, is going to go to mystyles.css, and you can see that that file is given to you, and so we just need to begin to work with it. And so CSS Designer panel is going to come in helpful for us here as we begin to work with this panel further. Okay, so we'll begin by choosing a source. Again, the mystyles.css file has already been attached to your template, so you should be able to see it here in the sources when you're on your template, and you can begin to build those styles that required section is asking for. The first one is a body selector to set a background and text color. So I'll start you off there. You can see that body selector already there, which is nice, and so our job is to just set some properties for it. We need a text color and a background color. I'm going to go into that properties area, click on the backgrounds, and we can set a background color. In my case, I think for my site, I'm just going to use a gray, kind of a light gray. Put that into place, and you can see it immediately takes over the background of the page. And then I need a color as well for the text, and for that I'm going to use a very dark gray, almost black, something in that region there. There we go. That'll work. You're not doing what I'm doing, you're setting your own color scheme up. I'm just giving you a quick example of how you set properties. So these are all going on the body in mystyles.css, and the global setting for the media as well at this point. And so that will set that style sheet with those properties, and we should be able to see that in fact on all these pages now. So that's the nice thing about it, is that the template is connected to mystyles.css. Therefore, since these pages are created from it, they are also connected, and all I need to do really is just change my styles from any of these pages. So I could be on my products page, for example, and be messing with my styles from there, and same is true. I'm going to, if I go to show set, I'll see the settings that I just made there. I can make changes on any one of these pages. It's going to affect all the pages because they're all going to this centralized style sheet. Okay, so that takes care of some of the basic page styles. There are other requirements in this area. We're supposed to format the banner area, for example. So next I'm going to demonstrate setting up another selector. I'm going to go back to our template. That's the best place probably to do your style work. And I'm going to click in this heading 1 area, and I'm going to set a style that would affect that area here. And I'm going to make sure I've got my styles and the global media, and then a plus sign on the selector. And that's going to select that H1 as well as some surrounding identifying area to make sure that I'm just messing with this and no other H1s if I had any. And then I can hit enter to lock that selector in and begin to work with the properties. You want to show set off when you're trying to set stuff, and turn it on when you're trying to look at existing stuff. So make sure that that's set appropriately. Now let's just say that I want a border around that H1 area. Then I'll choose a width. I'll just choose thin for the width. I'll choose a color, and for that I'll choose something very light, like almost a white, but it's kind of an off-white blue. And of course these are going to be your choices, not mine. And then the style, you have quite a lot of choices here. I'll go with groove. Now I'm in design view. I'm probably going to get a better representation of those styles if I go to live view or to the browser. And to be honest, I think I prefer just going to the browser. We do need to save the style sheet because that's what we've been changing, so hopefully it'll prompt me to do that on my way out here. Yes. So there you can see my very light colored border around the H1. It does extend all the way out to the edges because that's where the H1 banner goes to. So anything you want to set in terms of styles is fine, really, but you do have some requirements you need to follow, so make sure you're paying attention to those. Okay, now the next major thing that we need to do is step 7, page content. So obviously we have to place some content into these editable regions that you see, and don't forget, we in design view we have the right sidebar down at the bottom there to fill in. So those areas on each page, of course, depends on what your products and your company is all about, but you're going to be going from page to page filling in those areas. So that's pretty much just basic mechanical busy work. You're going to be making up stuff, not copying and pasting from some other shoe related site or whatever in my case. Just make stuff up, get some ideas from some other sites, but your content should be legitly yours. You are allowed to borrow images to serve as products or even some advertising. You can go get some advertising from some other site and paste it into your sidebars. If you do advertising, make it something that would be appropriate for your business. Okay, so that pretty much covers the requirements. There's also some extra credit discussed in the assignment, but this should really get you going. Now, when you finally get everything done, keep in mind that you're going to zip up that entire folder and then submit that one zip file as your final project assignment submission in Blackboard. Okay, I hope that's helpful for you. Thanks for watching.